until he is out of the way. And then the lawless one will be revealed, and the Lord Jesus will kill with the breath of his mouth and bring to nothing by the appearance of his coming. The coming of the lawless one is by activity of Satan, with all power and false signs and wonders, and with all wicked deception for those who are perishing, because they refuse to love the truth and so be saved. Therefore God will send them strong delusions, so that they will believe what is false, in order that all may be condemned who do not believe the truth, but they pleasure in unrighteousness. So basically what he's saying is, people think that, well, I'll wait till after the rapture and think I know God. Well, that won't happen, because he'll send strong delusions to people to believe the lie, so they will be believing that the Antichrist will be the man who will be their Savior. And another thing is, he says that he goes to the temple, sits in the temple, and says, he despises, he says, against every so-called God or objects of worship. So, I mean, the Muslims aren't going to have any right then at that time to say, hey, I'm waiting for the Imam. That ain't going to happen. So, what I'm saying is, you talk about delusion. These people are thinking that they're going to have their specific Savior who's going to come and rescue them. But when the Antichrist sits on the throne, every other God, anybody, anything will be obsolete. It will be a no.
They ain't coming to save you.
I ain't going to happen. So, you know, he's just going to come to a point where he's going to declare himself God, and God's going to go, that's it. You know, we won't be able to learn anymore.
Yeah.
You know, so I guess sometimes I think we like these things, we should, but they're not going to dominate, because in the end, everybody's going to lose out, well, except for Christians. But I'm just talking about those who think that they have their own specific God outside of Jesus Christ. You got to have it.
Okay, I have verse 7, I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and the beast that carrieth her. The focus of this explanation is on the beast, or the Antichrist. It appears that the great harlot ruled or rode the Antichrist system and fame, but as many tyrants do, the Antichrist uses religion to accomplish his worldly goals, and then turns against religion once the goals are realized, and declares himself as God. The vision of the beast has 5 details describing the beast in Revelation 17. In verse 3, which we read, it has blasphemous names. It had 7 heads, verse 3. It had 10 horns, verse 3. The great harlot rides it, verse 7. And the beast was and is not, and will come up out of the bottomless pit, or the abyss, and go to his destruction, verse 11. The remainder of this chapter is the angel's interpretation of the mystery, or the symbolism of the vision, in verses 3 through 6. The beast, or the Antichrist, is explained in verses 8 through 17, and the woman in verse 18. So the majority of this from now on is really about the Antichrist, and not the one world religion or the great harlot, except for verse 18. The beast has 7 heads and 10 horns. He is not one of the heads or horns. He, the Antichrist, symbolizes something in verse 11, and the heads and horns symbolize something else, verses 12 through 17. To have a true understanding of the beast, the Antichrist, one must think of him as something different from both the heads and the horns. And this gets us back. I want us to go back to Revelations 13. Keep your hand in this place. We're going to go back to Revelations 13, 1 through 3. Because this is the first real description of the Antichrist. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the names of blasphemy. So this is really close to what we're reading in Revelation 17. Both the description and that he is blasphemous against God. And the beast which I saw was likened to a leopard, but his feet were like the feet of a bear, and the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of the heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. So again, he is going to be represented by 10 kings or 10 groups of kings, and one of those kings is going to be wounded unto death and then miraculously healed. So, we just got to look at the heads, and the horns are not actually the Antichrist, but symbolizes something else. In this particular verse, I is mentioned 165 times in the book of Revelations, because this is a very personal vision of what God is going to do in the last days. And personal pronouns are used 2,074 times in the book of Revelations.
But does the I of that number, does that always reflect the I as being an angel speaking?
Lots of times it's John.
Right.
And other times it's an angel. Sea here is the Mediterranean Sea, because the nations under the Antichrist surrounded on three sides, like the old Roman Empire. I saw a beast rise out of the sea. The sea represents people or the masses, and is in symbolic of other scriptures.
You're reading back to
13:1 and 1-3.
John speaking.
Yeah, this what?
The eyes there are John speaking.
Yes. But the I is used 165 times in the book of Revelations, because it's a very personal.
Now go back and see what the noun is that it's coming from.
The question I had is, we know it confirms itself in sense of the same people in a lot of ways. Is a geographical place that sits among seven hills.
Well, there is, and but there's several cities that geographically would.
Right, Rome is one, but I mean,
so is Israel. So is Jerusalem.
Jerusalem is among seven hills.
I had 20 facts about the first beast or the Antichrist. He'll be a man. I'm just going to summarize this. He'll come from the sea of humanity. He will become ruler of a territory of the seven kingdoms and the seven world empires that precede the kingdom of the Antichrist. This description that we have here is from John's time. These are all depictive of seven empires that came against Israel, and the Antichrist being the eighth. He will become a ruler over 10 nations or 10 groups of nations, most of which will be in the old Roman Empire. He will be a blasphemer. He will revive the old Grecian Empire. That's where you get the word. That's where leopard here is synonymous of swiftness. He will also have characteristics of the Medo-Persians and the Babylonians. He will receive his power and throne and great authority from Satan. He will not be assassinated and resurrected, but one of his heads will be. He will have all the world wondering after him. He will be the object of worship. I got scriptures for all these. He will be a supernaturally gifted orator. He will be given power and success for 42 months. He will defy God and claim to be God himself. He will make war with the Jews and Christians, and multitudes will be killed by him. He will be given power over all nations, including the 10 kingdoms of the old Roman Empire territory. He will be worshipped as God. He will have a religious leader in the false prophet to support and promote the Antichrist. Again, it's a symbiotic relationship. He will permit image worship of himself, and he will cause the mark or the emblem of his kingdom or his name or the number of his name to be branded upon the right hand or the forehead of his followers. And then the Antichrist kingdom comes from these kingdoms, which are all within the old Roman Empire. These are all kingdoms that persecute Israel. The first one was Egypt, the second one was Assyrian, the third one was Babylonian, fourth Medo-Persian, the fifth Grecian, sixth was Roman, Empire, 7th is the revised Roman Empire, and the 8th is the Antichrist kingdom. Then there's the Antichrist is going to be able to do some pretty remarkable things. I have 20 things there. Titles of the Antichrist. In 1 John 2:18, he's called the Antichrist. In 1 John 2:18, he's also called the Assyrian, the king of Babylon, the spoiler, the extortioner, the little horn, the king of fierce countenance, the prince that shall come, the king of the north, the man of sin, the son of perdition, the wicked, the beast. And these are all places in Scripture where he's given that title. Not that he probably won't have any of these. His actual name will probably not come from any of these things. But these are all depictive of his character. And
That's a good sign.
so that just kind of gives you, I just want to throw a thumbnail sketch of when we were in 13. That's just a thumbnail sketch of the Antichrist. Gives you an idea. The Antichrist has to fit all the titles. If we live in a time where the Antichrist will come on the scene, I think he's probably alive now. He just hasn't come on the scene. He has to fit all these titles. He has to fit all these titles. All these titles that I just read. If he doesn't fit one, then he's not the Antichrist. But he'll fit all these titles.
The question I ask, or the question that's out there on my mind as we study this book and the information in this book. Now, if and when an Antichrist, promotes himself and is actually here, it says in some of the scriptures that, like somebody can't kill him. Well, we've had presidents whatsoever, and we've had people trying to kill them. What's not to say that we won't actually see that promoted?
But they try to assassinate him, maybe?
Well,
There's a good chance that somebody may try, but they're not going to succeed.
Now, what do you think?
are you saying because he will be immortal and he can't?
No, he won't be immortal. He's
not allowed.
God has given him a time, just like each and every one of us. God gives us a certain time.
Yeah.
And it's all different. God says, you're going to live 80 years, and you might live 75, and you may live 90, and he gives us a time.
Right.
But anyhow, he gives each of us a time, and so we have to talk a prophetic word of how long the Antichrist is going to stay, and then he's not going to be assassinated. And here's another fallacy about the Antichrist. He's going to be a great military leader, but he's not going to be able to withstand. He's not going to be able to take over neighbors within Israel. The Jewish people will be in Petra, and they'll be supernaturally guarded, which is a place in Jordan, and Edom and Moab, and lands in western Jordan. He's not going to be able, right next to Israel, he's not going to be able to take these people over. And to be quite honest with you, I think that like Edom and Moab and the other one, I can't think of the other one. But anyhow, they're going to be, God's hands are going to be upon them. Who knows, they could be Christians, but realistically, there'll probably be Shiite Muslims that survive, that maybe came to Christ. This is going to be the new ISIS. I really believe that the people that the Antichrist can't beat, and they're right against the border of Israel. It'd be just like if, here in the United States, we couldn't beat the people right across the border in Mexico. Okay, and this is the way the Antichrist is going to try to defeat them, but they're the buffer between the Antichrist and the Jewish people that have recognized Jesus after the rapture and are now hiding out of Petra. They're the buffer. So he's not going to be able to beat them because, we have modern technology. You can fly planes over and you can bomb Petra, But God's going to have a supernatural protection on his people that are Jewish people fleeing Israel and going to Petra. And Petra has a long history of, and we've talked about this in the past, Petra has traditionally been the place where Jewish people have fled persecution. Whenever somebody has come to persecute the Jews, the true believers have fled to Petra. And Petra is actually in a mountain range. Petra is only one place in a whole mountain range. It's going to be an area of protection, of divine protection. So the Antichrist is going to be able to win a lot of battles, but he's not going to win them all, because God's hand is going to be upon His people. Now, it's just like in Hebrews. You know, some will be going to saw it in half, and others will be divided and protected, and that's what it is. So many people are going to give their lives for Christ, but God's going to have His hand on others, and they'll be touched. And they will be touched.
Kind of like you got the Battle of Dunkirk. You know, Germany was going right to the border and couldn't take them. Everything just stopped right there. That's where that was intervention. So what country do you think would be the country that, remember he says that one of the heads would be mortally wounded? Do you think it's a country like, I think it must be Britain. They can't get Britain out of here. You're being kind of more
A good bet would be either Germany or England or France.
Somebody that doesn't want to be there.
Well, I wouldn't rule out Israel.
Well, Israel was part of the whole Roman Empire. Highly possible they could come under the wing of the Roman Empire.
That the person who's head over Israel. But I think it could be either 10 nations or 10 groups of nations. Currently, the way it's set up right now, it's 10 groups of nations. And the way it's set up now,
37 nations.
there's 37 nations in 10 groups, and there are 10 battle groups. That's how it's set up. It's 10 battle groups. So they're groups of nations together, and they represent a battle group. It's like a division within the U.S. military. It's like a division. It's a group, a large group, a battle group. So there's 10 battle groups in 37 nations.
So, going back to, just for a second, because we're talking about that, going back to where you said all of these people that will join up with the Mormons or the Catholic Church, and you named, I think it was seven different denominations.
All the major religions are going to merge together. The top 5 for sure. And
So, once they form their union and become something, I mean, are they going to have one consecrated name?
one name.
One leader, and what's left of the true church will go underground.
They'll have one name. And I don't think it's going to be any of the names that we have now.
Yeah, you don't come up with
So, what, rather as we know it, as far as a Christian church or any Christian church?
Won't be Christian church, be named only, but it won't be, you won't use the word Christian at all, they use another name, but it'll only be Christian by name only, just like Catholics think they're Christians, and they're, you know, or people born in America think they're Christians, but you have to be born again to be Christian, but, you know, being in a garage doesn't make you a car, so I mean, it's the same kind of idea.
Well, the Pope just signed a document with the top imam from Egypt, which represents all the Sunnis in the world, and that document has nothing mentioned about Christ in it.
That looks like an outline for one world religion in itself. It's really
I just
scary to read it.
I have it here on my book.
I read the whole thing, and it
I have to read it.
looks like a religion of we are the world.
Wonderful.
And they forgot about the
And again, we talked about this, but in 2015, the Pope came to the UN and said, I come in my own name. And that's significant because Jesus said, you know, you'll reject me, but another will come in his own name and you will accept him. Now, the thing about the Pope is he's supposed to be the vicar of Christ. He's not supposed to come in his own name.
Exactly.
So
They measure apostle, if you will.
right.
Exactly.
So the Pope is supposed to be the vicar of Christ. He's supposed to be proclaiming the name of Christ. But when he came to the UN, he said, I come in my own name. And then this document that the Pope and the top imam from Egypt signed, it has 13 provisions where it says, we come in the name of, and then you just fill in the blank. It's 13 of them and come in the name of justice and mercy and peace, and it goes all these things. And 13 is symbolic. I mean, why would you not pick 12, or why wouldn't you pick 15?
14.
14. 13 in the Bible is always the number of rebellion. It's the number of rebellion.
And what we have to remember too is they're not all joining underneath Catholicism. This is a meaning of religions and a merging of them. So it's not like, we're picking this guy for the leader. This is going to be, we're all co-leaders of whatever this ugly thing is.
Yeah.
So,
They'll get together and elect a leader. They'll get together and elect a leader. And I got to tell you something. This is just my guessing. But all this bad publicity for the Catholics and the Pope is kind of the way that the Pope will not be the person that's running the one world religion.
right.
Now look at this.
They'll get so much bad press. Somebody like the Dalai Lama is going to get the job.
Something else in the name of peace.
Yeah. And justice. And with all the things that's happened within the Catholic Church and all the criticism of Pope, I think this is very timely to where the Pope, really, you would think the Pope would get the job, but I don't believe the Pope's going to get the job. I think all this scandal that's coming against the Catholic Church right now, and especially against the Pope, is the way in which the Pope is not going to get the job as the leader of the one world religion.
He'll be a part of it, he won't be a leader.
He'll be a part of it, he'll be one of the under people, but he will not be the leader.
He'll be one of the props that prop it up. But really, he's going to join it because he needs the legitimacy of it. In the old days, Catholicism wouldn't join with anyone. But they are going to, because of membership leaving Catholicism, they are going to desperately need to be part of this one world religion in order to retain the power that they have.
Kind of like bedfellows between Russia and Turkey, right? But right now would be right for it because the leader of Israel looks like he might be dethroned, and the lady from Great Britain, she just barely made it in by a vote or two, and of course Brexit is not going to be.
They're all
way back in,
Merkel.
way out. And Merkel's also, and Merkel's not in fair shape either. So a lot of them, in the one in France isn't either. So I mean, they're all kind of shaky as far as any of them can be step in and set on the so to speak throne of their capital to be the Antichrist because everything's shaky right now. And then you got people who declare something out like the Chinese government, the guy in North Korea. Iran from Turkey.
Well, what we should be watching is the Canadian president right now because he's
Trudeau.
in bad shape. Right?
Yeah. A lot of world leaders are on the bubble.
Yeah.
But I want to go on about this one thing. So the last part of 7. I will explain to you the mystery of the woman and of the beast she rides. And then this one goes on to the explanation of mystery. 10:6 or 10:7. At the mystery of God in apocalyptic thoughts, mysteries were secrets preserved in heaven and revealed to the apocalypse. Here the mystery is that God has won the victory over the forces of evil and will reign forever and ever.
Yes.
The whole book of Revelations can be summed up in 2 words. Jesus wins. If you don't know anything about the book of Revelation, there it is. Jesus wins.
But you forgot the explanation.
Oh yeah. That's well, I've learned all the way.
You always wonder about the details along the way.
Yes. Lots of details, but Jesus wins.
Jesus wins.
I'm not sure sure if this church still has the notes for it, but I remember we took 7 months, I think we started in May, and we all went until just before November, and did the whole book of Revelations regarding the Antichrist and the whole scenes that followed from step 1 to step 2. And as I'm rereading some of it, familiarizing some myself, but I'd like to almost see whether or not we still have those notes.
That would be good. That would be good.
Let's face it, we're getting pretty close to 7 months.
Yeah, I think we've got about 7 months.
Yeah.
Ken Greeley was the one that did that.
Okay.
I thought maybe John's going to write another book of Revelation.
Okay, I think we're about, we can go one more verse. We can go one more verse.
Yeah, time for one more verse. Well, that'd be a record.
So, 17. Verse 8. We are at verse 8.
17.
Now we're going to talk about the beast.
So who wants to read that verse?
I'll read it.
Go for it.
The beast which you saw once was, now is not, and will come up out of the abyss, and go to his destruction. The inhabitants of the earth, whose names have not been written in the book of life from the creation of the world, will be astonished when they see the beast, because he once was, now is not, and yet will come.
So it's got to be talking about people that survived that tribulation period.
Yeah, there you go.
Life because you saw and they were astonished to see the beast. Unless it's in from heaven.
Well,
I think these people are still on earth.
does anybody have anything else on this? Okay. Well, the way that I look at this is, the Antichrist is not the Antichrist. It's just a mere man, except that he's empowered by a demonic spirit. Talks about in the book of Revelations. I don't think the Antichrist. I think the Antichrist is going to have some remarkable traits about him, but not until he is inhabited by a demonic spirit of some great notoriety will he become great. And the same thing is probably true with a false prophet also. False prophet would be notable, but not extremely notable until some great demonic spirit comes and inhabits this being. The Antichrist spirit has always been around. There's many small
Antichrist coming in the world when he was alive.
Yeah, there's many small Antichrists, but there's only one, the Antichrist. This spirit has been around and is going to come back again and give the Antichrist. The spirit will rise up out of the auspices of Satan and possess this man that we call the Antichrist.
Sounds like Hitler.
Well, if you think of the demonic spirit, we might have seen the Antichrist before in different worlds.
In history, in the past.
And when it says he once was, that's when he was in these people, Hitler, whatever.
Yep.
But now he is not. He hasn't taken place again, but he will be.
I think he's probably being saved in reserve, being saved in reserve for the right time.
When we talk about this, don't stop to think that sometimes when we've gone into these other countries in the last, let's say 7 years, 10 years, especially during the time that we went through 9/11, and we were fighting all these people trying to find one guy to get in some, what was it, like a well or a box or whatever was found there. some days at that time, you would have thought we were fighting, you know. Some of them really loved the devil because, yeah, one got their archives in a box.
Yeah. Well, the old city of Bajal, or Bojol, whatever it's called in Iraq, that's the city of Nineveh. That's where it started with Nimrod. But I was thinking about, it's talking about in the scripture, it says it comes up in a pit. Well, the earlier one in chapter 9 talks about the creature coming up from the pit, and his name would be, they'll have a leader, Apollyon, or, I forget the other name now, but there's two names. But anyway, they have leader, one is in Hebrew, and one is in Arabic or something. But anyway, but those are the leaders. So apparently, whoever possesses this person probably will be possessed by that Apollyon or whoever he is, because he comes up from the pit and onto his destruction, or where he came from the pit. So the leader of the pit, who were leading the locust, was Apollyon. So, I mean, I think that's probably who will be, like you said, it may not be Satan himself, but, this Apollyon leader.
It'll be some sort of
Right.
a high demonic spirit.
Right.
I think
It'll possess this man called
Abaddon is another word. Apollyon.
Abaddon.
Yeah, that's it.
I think that in history we have seen men that have been inspired by this Antichrist spirit, but I don't think we have seen a full possession. Like this guy is going to be possessed by this demonic spirit, and it's like the difference between somebody whispering in your ear and somebody speaking from inside you.
Yeah. I think what Brian says in Ontario, I think we've seen people who had different, you use the word, different levels of what Antichrist would look like. I mean, Hitler, Nero, they all had different manifestations of, but this guy would be full, he'd be the sum of everything.
Well, they went through transformations also, like stages.
Yeah, we've seen different characteristics of the Antichrist spirit in different people. This guy's going to be the full
Full-blown.
Yeah, every one of those characteristics he's going to have, plus whatever the rest of it is.
Well,
And I think it'll come in as a band of peace and then end up
you see, I believe that Antichrist spirit has been out and empowered people, as Brian said, but none of them were world leaders. They were leaders.
That's true.
They were leaders
Regional leaders.
They were leaders of their world,
Yeah.
but they weren't leaders of the world. Here's an opportunity for the first time ever of somebody actually being the world leader.
Although you
Not just like a figurehead that the UN is the president of the UN is the world leader. I mean that not, or the president of the United States.
Right.
This will be the first chance of somebody actually being the leader of the world. Now, this is what I think, and this is what what you were, I think, talking about, is in the past there was visions of men being great men and great leaders and having an empire, but this is a vision of somebody being actually the world leader. So the desire is going to be greater, and so that's what's going to make this person different from in the past, is the opportunity to be the greatest person in human history. I mean, look at Hitler, Stalin. They were terrible. I mean, these were butcher, evil.
And they all-
but we still know them, right?
They all
they were still confined
Until the
achieved it.
Right. But they were still confined to their area.
Yeah.
Regional, yeah.
But not from lack of ambition. They all aspired to be, the world leader, but they
Right.
never could achieve it.
Somebody somehow, with God's help or whatever, stopped them from achieving that goal. But like Mark says, the possibility of somebody doing that is becoming much greater.
But we're giving him more credit than he deserves, though, too, because like you said, he won't be able to conquer the whole world. It'll be 3
Right.
days.
He's not going to conquer the whole world.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, we make it look like it's every square inch of the world will be contemplated, and it won't, because there will be nations that won't do it. And they just won't yield to them.
There's still going to be a remnant, there's still going to be a pack of, whatever.
Right. I'm just saying, he won't take over the whole world.
But
His influence will be over the
Right.
whole world.
we're coming to a time where mergers and acquisitions and small becoming larger and larger becoming largest. And it's so ingrained in our society now that things are being taken over by bigger and better, that's what this is going to come from. And the world is just going to be used to that. Just think of the business world where, a small conglomerate becomes a larger corporation, that larger corporation becomes a world corporation, that world corporation becomes the only monopoly in that concentration.
Amazon, yeah.
I will. I have just a jaw-dropping story tomorrow, but I don't want to give it away. But spoiler alert! I will bring it next Thursday, and I'll show you this story. It really needs to be put in chapter 18. That's where I'll put it in. But I will mention it next Thursday. But we are definitely coming to a one world system.
Yeah. Well, look at the lady from Afghanistan. Remember, she showed pictures of national news. She was holding up that smartphone, and it was Iran. She started a revolution with just that smartphone. That would have happened years ago, but she was just able to, start a whole revolution over there.
And we have not given, and I'm going to just say this, we have not given proper notice to China. We have not given proper notice to China.
I'm missing something.
Because China is going to be a major player in the last days.
Oh, yeah. Well,
And China will be a huge supporter of the Antichrist.
Well, just
We
look
are-
at his military stylism. I mean, he still got them marching out on the streets.
Well, he's dictator for life.
We're coming to a time where there's going to be a battle. It's called Armageddon. We all heard it. We're coming to a battle. And the Antichrist is going to have enough confidence to fight Christ. And the multitudes, which will be, I believe, us, I believe that.
If we're here, we better be there.
Yeah. We'll be going down with him, with Christ, and the Antichrist will have enough confidence to fight Christ.
Yeah. Arrogance is thinking.
Remember, the new Tower of Babel is going to be built in Tel Aviv, and on top of the Tower of Babel was Nimrod with a sword holding up the air, because he was going to get tall, he was going to get into the heavens and directly fight God. Wonderful.
And that's why they call people Nimrods.
Right.
Yeah, I like that.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing where it gets amazing. Here's the thing that it gets amazing. And this is the reason why we've overlooked China and the kings of the East. The Antichrist is going to have enough confidence to fight Christ and his multitudes. And he's going to call upon the kings of the East, and they will come to help him. Now, it's one thing for you to believe that you can beat God, but to convince your friends that you can beat God with your friends' help, that's one step further, I think.
Say all over again.
So here's what I'm trying to say we have overlooked China because China will be backing the Antichrist.
Yeah, every dictator thinks he's invincible.
Whatever. I think he's God.
And what gets you killed is convincing family and friends to go along with the battle. That's what happened to Saul. His sons came on. Saul. it came along and it got Jonathan killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Absalom was the same way. He got his friends.
Yeah. But think about that.
That makes you an ornament on a tree.
Yeah.
Think about that. The Antichrist is going to convince the kings of the East, China and Vietnam and Japan and all of them, to come and fight in the Battle of Armageddon against God.
Well, he's going to offer them something irresistible.
Oh, Walmart.
How?
No. I think there's a little something to this. Because the economic system.
Right, and that's the whole deal. They've been trying this for
The economic system.
That's what I do.
And I don't want to say there's too much more on this call, but the economic system that the United States has started will be picked up by the Chinese.
Yeah, they're already thinking about that right now.
5G.
This is why the kings of the East will be so significant. The Antichrist, it's again a symbiotic relationship. The Antichrist depends on the kings of the East for the finances, for the means of financing, the means to be able to do the transactions.
Sam,
And
you don't have gold, you have to have something else.
And the kings of the East will see that this is that the Antichrist represents their wealth. Well, and it's we've got to defend the person who is backing our economic system. And the Antichrist, the mark of the Antichrist will be tied in with what China is developing.
Well, he also had in this article I get home of the Silk Roads. One of these running in Israel.
Yeah, well,
But it's
yeah.
interesting to have these roads that lead from China and these other countries. Will make it easier for countries to get on the road and come together as one.
They're definitely roads. They're just not made of cement.
Oh, nobody made it gold, but I think
Well, they'll be made of something else.
We're talking about the
potholes.
false religion system named Harlot. But you get over into chapter 18. You'll see the commercial.
Remember, 17 is the end of the one world religion. 18 is the end of the one world economic system. 19 is the end of Satan for 1,000 years. All bad days for Satan.
Man, how long it's taken to get the revelation? Oh my goodness.
Lovely.
The United States, they plan like 20 years in
You've
advance.
been listening to
China plans
Bible
100 years in
study,
advance.
reading, discussing, and understanding Scripture. Join us online next week when we will once again study the Word. Imagine one day tuning around on your internet radio only to find a station playing old radio programs complete with commercials and thinking, what am I tuning into? The past? You might be, or it's just GJRB Online and Radioland. A day of nothing but classic radio shows back to back with classic commercials in between. Like the days of radio. Almost like your computer is picking up signals through time. Closer than you'll ever get to time travel. Radioland. Coast to coast and way out there fans, listen up! If you like UFO conspiracies, ghosts, and the paranormal, you'll love Spaced Out Radio, Spreaker's answer to Coast AM, with more interesting guest experts in the paranormal and UFOs each month. If you like Way Out There, you'll love Spaced Out Radio. Own the night with Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott, nightly at 11 p.m. Central, 12 o'clock midnight Eastern, and 9 p.m. Pacific, on Spreaker, on Periscope, and on D-Talk Radio Network. From Clinton, Iowa, on Spreaker, this is GJR Broadcasting, GJRB. Now, GJRB presents The Last 7 Days. In this time of lawlessness and utter chaos, there's a program that puts it all into perspective. This is the program where men and women gather to discuss current events and how it lines up with Bible prophecy. And now, The Last 7 Days.